the ultimate guide on how to attract and be worshipped by women. He stalked the stage, staring at the crowd filling the auditorium. Ladies, and who am I kidding? There are no ladies here. Ha 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 ha. Laughter echoed throughout the hall. Hello, gentlemen. It's an honor to be with you this evening. Rapturous applause. It's good to be back among my people. So often I feel that I'm among strangers, but here we all understand each other, don't we? 1,500 men hung on every word. And it's good, because too often the world doesn't understand us. Have you ever felt misunderstood, abused, disrespected? They nodded like puppets on the same string, especially by women, flaunting their bodies, taunting us, then rejecting us when we approach them, laughing at us, mocking us. But no more. No more will you be ignored, underappreciated, mistreated, because I'm here to share the secret to making anyone you want yours. You could have heard a pin drop. First, insult her. You got to knock her down a peg without chasing her away. Wow, what a great dress. With better makeup, you look fantastic. The key is to offend her but make her want your approval. They all do after all, even if they won't admit it. Seriously. Then, when you take her home, and you will, rock her world like never before and then act like she doesn't matter. She'll be so confused, she'll do whatever it takes to keep you coming back. Finally, after she's begged and humiliated herself, you can laugh at her and throw her away, just as you've been laughed at and thrown away. Because that's what she deserves. That's what they all deserve. They were listening like it was everything they've been waiting to hear their entire lives. And it went on, until finally he finished. Congratulations, gentlemen, you're now on your way to living the life you deserve. A toast to your future success. The audience members all drank and then began talking to each other excitedly about how their lives were about to change. If only they knew. Without warning, one man stopped speaking and reached for his throat. His neighbor reached out to help, but then he grabbed for his own throat and fell to the ground, flopping. He was followed by another and another, until every member of the audience had collapsed to the ground, convulsing back and forth in some macabre choreographed dance. I stepped around them and walked to the stage where the host lay, writhing on his back and foaming at the mouth. I bent over him. That feeling you have right now? Confused, scared, not knowing what's happening or how it all went wrong. That's how Julie felt after you used her and threw her away like trash, right before she took a bottle of pills as she lay in the bathtub. I removed the catering apron and cyanide bottle and dropped them over him as he took his final breath. This is for my sister, you evil fucking bastard.
October 31st, 2007. I was supposed to die, but I can stay in yesterday. I was doodling Happy Tree Friends characters when we were hit. October 31st, 2007. The sky darkened, a single strand of my hair fell in my face, and that was it. It's not humanly possible for the brain to register something that fast. I stabbed the button on my iPod at the right time, which saved me. It was always the same song, stuck in the exact same second. The Pixies, which put me back in yesterday. October 30th, standing outside my locker and taking in the cool breeze drifting in from the open doorway. I don't know why I was given a second chance, a gift to cheat death and continuously go back to yesterday. Yesterday only existed inside the school. The same classes, the same conversations, the same mannerisms. But I held on to every second. The hallways were full, and every time I went back, I focused on a new person. Lottie Eaton was talking about cheerleading tryouts. Lottie had ribbons in her hair. But if I really looked, if I allowed that incessant reality to bleed through, I could see the purely white of her skull where the anomaly had ripped through. The song in my ears continued on through the chorus, the present seeping through. Like it was reminding Lottie that we weren't supposed to be there. With my stomach twisting, I stabbed rewind on my iPod. The world blurred, and I was back at my locker. So where were you in gym class? Nate Samuels was supposed to lead the 2007 basketball team to the championships. Instead, he got his brains blown out by an anomaly that is never explained. I prefer to believe it just was and decided to level my entire class with no reason before disappearing. Instead of answering Nate, because I knew how this conversation would go, I swiped the ugly smear of red trickling down his temple, ignoring reality trying to drag him away, and hooked my arm in his. Before we could get to class, the Pixies began to fast forward through lyrics, taking me straight through the chorus, and back into my seat on October 31st, 2007. Back to that moment, that minute, that second. Outside, the sky darkened, and I stopped doodling. Suddenly, I couldn't breathe. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my iPod, but the screen was stuck. I stabbed at rewind, and yet the song continued in my ears, and Nate was tangling his fingers in mine, squeezing tight. Nate was always across the classroom in the first 55,000 rewinds. Now he was next to me with dark eyes pleading with me. Just let go. I never doubted Nate wasn't awake. I was just in denial. And maybe I was tired of fighting my shitty iPod. So I let the song continue, watching the sky turn impossibly black, a single strand of my hair falling in my eyes. Maybe I was okay with dying. Something has been impersonating me for over half my life. The first occurrence that I know of happened when I was 15. I was sleeping on the living room couch and needed to wake up early, so I'd set an alarm on an old digital timer for 5 a.m. The timer went off closer to 3 a.m. and failed to wake me up. My mother is a light sleeper and came out to turn off the alarm. As she entered the living room, she saw me bent over the coffee table rummaging around like I was half asleep looking for the timer. She says she laughed at me and said, "Dotro Fedmanlover, the timer is right here," while grabbing it from a side table and turning it off. By then she was standing right over the couch and looked down to see me fast asleep. The way she described it, the fear was so intense she literally felt her ears ringing, and couldn't tell if the rummaging sound continued. But the girl who looked like me above the coffee table was gone. I thought it was a spooky story but ultimately brushed it off as my mom being half asleep. Then, over the years, there were other sightings, mostly minor. A few examples include a friend asking why I didn't come inside a party one time, because they'd seen me in the driveway walking in. I was never anywhere near that party. Another time, in college apartment, I came home from work and my roommate asked me where I'd gone, sounding surprised. I gestured at my work uniform and said I was just getting home. He went a bit pale and told me I had been home earlier, going back and forth from my bedroom to my bathroom, and waved to him in the hallway with a toothbrush in my mouth. That was definitely impossible, but maybe he was just thinking of another night. A couple other things happened, but I always blamed them on the witness being tired or drunk or simply mistaken. The only thing I never really thought was it could actually be another person around town, both because this had happened in my home, and without going into detail, I have a pretty distinctive look and physical mannerism that make me recognizable. It would be weird if someone else looked like me and had the same unusual gait. In my late 20s, I went through an ugly breakup that ended with me kicking out my ex and having my brother move in with me for a while, for protection and peace of mind. A few weeks after the dust settled, my ex wanted to come by and pick up a few things, so my brother said he would stay home and I could leave the house while the ex grabbed his stuff. I promptly left and didn't return until I was sure he'd been gone for hours. The next day, the ex called me, furious, saying he knew I was home the whole time he was there. I explained that I was not home and didn't want to see him anyway, but he was convinced. He said, "I saw you watching from the upstairs window while I loaded my car, laughing at me." Then he sent a picture. For the first time, I felt convinced and suddenly afraid. There was a woman in the window upstairs and she did look like me, exactly like me. I have never been able to explain this and mostly found it fun to share when people start busting out their own paranormal encounters. Until now, because 20 years after the first encounter, I finally saw her myself tonight. I don't know what to do next, but I can't just keep pretending she isn't real.